You are listening to JDN 101.5 FM, One Chat Street, Joyce B Road, Okeado in the city of Ibadan, Nigeria. JDN 101.5 FM, broadcasting for her. Don't touch that dial. You know the frequency, JDN 101.5 FM.
You are listening to JDN 101.5 FM, broadcasting for all.
Good morning and welcome to another beautiful Wednesday morning, the first Wednesday in the month of February. Welcome to the new month and happy new month for today, the 4th of February 2026. And I welcome you to the newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. And this morning I have three dailies. I have Daily Post, I have The Nation, and I have The Punch newspaper. And my name is Abiodun Samson, as I will be giving you the stories that made it to the front page of the dailies for today, the 4th of February 2026. And this morning, I will be starting from Daily Post with this headline that says Genocide. U.S. Congress panel holds hearing on religious freedom, raise concerns over Nigeria. And also Ibadan. NRC accuses Oyo government of destroying federal rail assets. Infinity sign on Tinubu's cap, not occultic, says APC National Chairman Yuwatada. And also, Mama Gaddafi, absolute power, biggest mistake of African leaders. And this is coming from Adamu Gaba. And I have this also, U.S. military reveals they have sent troops to Nigeria. And Governor Abdulrazak condemns bandit attack on two Kwara communities. And moving forward to The Nation for this morning with this headline that says, World Bank, Nigerian now global reference for credible reform leadership. PDP crisis, Makinde Wike renew hostilities. DSS arraigned Malami's sons on charges of terrorism, illegal possessions of firearms. U.S. confirmed troops on ground in Nigeria amid ISIS counter push. Retreat on improving polytechnic education. Those are the stories that made it to the front page of the Nations for this morning. And moving to the Punch newspaper for this morning with this headline that says electricity subsidy. Federal government deducts 3.6 trillion naira from federation accounts. Bandits kill 30 in fresh Katsina Kwara attack. Genocide accusation. U.S. Congress panel holds news sections on Nigeria today. MPO to Tinubu regulate foreign platforms or lose Nigerian media. And also, convention showdown, PDP governors resist wicked blocks, move to dismantle committees. No going back on reforms, Tinubu tells World Bank team. Ruling house once again outsiders' interference in Ogun's tool. Striking earth workers insist on salary adjustment. And also, 117 billion naira misappropriation uncovered under Tabua, says Sokoto panel. And those are the stories that made it to the front page of the Punch newspaper for this morning for the 4th of February 2026. If you're just tuning in, it's the newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. And I will be starting with the Punch newspaper with this headline that says electricity subsidy, federal government to deduct 3.6 trillion from federation accounts. The federal government has proposed a 3.6 trillion naira deduction from the federation account to fund electricity subsidy in 2026, 2027 and 2028. A move designed to distribute the financial burden across federal, state, and local government. The move represents a decisive step by the federation government to confront the rapidly mounting electricity subsidy debt, which has severely constrained liquidity across the power sector, while also strengthening fiscal transparency by making subsidy obligations explicit and better accounted for. The deduction proposal, detailed in the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework Fiscal Strategy paper for 2026-2028, analyzed by one of the correspondents on Tuesday, reflects a strategic shift towards distributing the financial burden of the power sector across all tiers of government amid growing concerns over unsustainable debt and systematic inefficiency. And the story continues on the Punch newspaper for this morning, the 4th of February 2026. Still on the Punch newspaper for this morning with this headline that says bandits kill 30 in fresh Katsina Kwara attack. Not fewer than 30 people were killed on Tuesday in separate bandit attack on communities in Katsina and Kwara states as assailants renewed violent assault on rural settlements, razing houses and vehicles and forcing residents to flee. In Katsina State, at least 20 persons were killed when bandits attacked Doma community of Tafoki Ward, Faskari local government area. Residents says the assailants stormed the area unhindered, killing villagers and setting houses and vehicles ablaze before fleeing. Confirming the incident, the chairman of the Faskrak local government area, Surajo Aliu, described the attack as a reprisal and deadliest in the area of recent months. And the story continues on the Punch newspaper for this morning. Alright, if you're just tuning in, it's still the newspaper review and we are live on Facebook on JDN Radio 101.5 FM and also on YouTube on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. So moving forward to Daily Post with this headline that says genocide. U.S. Congress panels hold hearing on religious freedom, raise concerns over Nigeria. Witnesses scheduled to appear before the United States Congress on Wednesday have warned that Nigeria could face deeper religious tension if the ongoing violence and insecurity are not addressed, describing the country as a significant flashpoint in the global religious freedom debate. The concerns are contained in written testimonies released ahead of the joint hearing of the House Foreign Affairs Committee's Subcommittee on Africa and Subcommittee on the West Hemisphere. The section titled Defending Religious Freedom Around the World is set to examine threats to freedom of belief in several religions. And the story continues on Daily Post for this morning. Still on Daily Post with this headline that says Ibadan NRC accuses Oyo government of destroying federal rail assets. The NRC also stated that one of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, NRC, has claimed that the government of Oyo State has damaged its railway assets in Ibadan, the state capital, which are valued in millions of naira. The NRC also stated that one of the local government chairmen in the state was present on the ground during the destructions. NRC described it as worrisome, the removal of railway fixed assets worth several millions of naira along its right-of-way in Ibadan Southwest local government area of Oyo State. It stated that the destruction took place on Monday, 2nd February 2026 and was carried out by the chairman of the Ibadan Southwest Local Government Council, Honorable Kehinde Adeyemi Amanda. Amanda was alleged to have led a group made of hoodlums, individuals wearing Nigerian Army uniforms and operatives of Amotekun to vandalize the NRC properties along the Ma 110 axis. The council chairman claimed to be working on the instructions of the state governor. The statement added, the rail assets such as rail sleepers, signals poles, billboards and fences owned by the NRC tenants along the corridor were reportedly damaged and removed. The corporation mentioned that the affected area is a clearly defined and legally protected railway right of way. And the story continues on Daily Post for this morning. newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM, broadcasting for us situated at 1 Church Street, Joyce B Road, Okeado, in the city of Ibadan, Nigeria. So moving forward to The Nation for this morning, the 4th of February 2026, with this headline that says, World Bank, Nigeria now global reference for credible reform leadership. Nigeria is now frequently cited globally as an example of steady, credible reform leadership, World Bank's Managing Director of Operation Anna Bijis said yesterday. The World Bank chief made the remark yesterday during a meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kazim Shettima at the State House Abuja. With the president to receive her were the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Wale Edu, and Deputy Chief of Staff, this goes to the President, Ibrahim Azan Ajia. Anna Berger was accompanied by other officials of the institution. The World Bank Managing Director praised Nigerians' reform progress over the past 2 years, particularly the government's consistent resolve to stay the course despite challenges. The consistency and the clear evidence of positive results, she noted, have built strong confidence among investors, policymakers, and the private sectors. And the story continues on The Nations for this morning. Still on The Nation with this headline that says PDP crisis, Makinde Wike renew hostilities. The battle of control of the soul of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, resurfaced yesterday with a clash between the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, and the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Nelson Wike. Both men, who were political soulmates in 2023, threw pot shots at each other. Makinde, speaking during the inaugurations of the PDP Secretariat in Ibadan, launched a searching attack on Wike and vowed that he would not allow the PDP to be dragged down. Makinde said, I know that a lot of you are concerned about the PDP, asking what is happening in the party. Well, we are all in Ibadan, which is the political, administrative, and cultural capital of the Yoruba race. The first thing I want to say is that in Yoruba land, we always say that if you see a house or a compound that is peaceful, it is because the illegitimate children in that house have not come of age. The illegitimate children of the PDP grew up in 2015, had their time, and for 10 years, a decade, they practiced their illegitimacy in the PDP, but they were expelled in November 2025. So no more vagabonds in the PDP, he said. And the story continues on The Nations for this morning. Alright, still moving forward on The Nation with this headline that says DSS arraigned Malami, son, on charges of terrorism, illegal possessions of firearms. The Department of State Service, DSS, yesterday arraigned the former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami's son, and his son, Abdulaziz, on a 5-count charge of terrorism and illegal firearms possessions. It was another significant courtroom moment as one of the Nigerian's most powerful former law office stood in the dock. Father and son were arraigned on a 5-count charge before the Federal High Court in Abuja in a case marked FHC/ABJ/CR/63/2026. Malami is also accused of refusing to prosecute suspected terrorism financier whose case files were allegedly forwarded to him while he served as Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. Both Malami and sons are further accused of unlawfully warehousing firearms in their residence of Gizi Phase 2 area, Birni Kebbi local government area of Kebbi State without lawful authority. According to the court document, Malami is charged in count 1 with knowing, abetting terrorism financing. It count 2 to 5, the former AGF and his son are accused of unlawful possessions of a Storm Magmont 170101 firearms, 16 Red Star AAA 5.20 live rounds of cartridge, and 27 expended Red Star AAA 5.20 cartridges. The alleged offenses are said to be contrary to and punishable under the relevant provision of Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022 and the Firearms Act 2004. Malami and Abdulaziz pleaded not guilty when the counts were read to them. And the story continues on The Nations for this morning, the 4th of February 2026. And there's on The Nation that says U.S. confirms troops on ground in Nigeria amid ISIS counter-terror push. The United States has sent a small team of troops to Nigeria. The general in charge of the U.S. Command for Africa, General Dagvin Anderson, said yesterday it was the first acknowledgement of American forces on the ground since Washington struck by air on Christmas Day. President Donald Trump ordered airstrikes on what he described as Islamic State targeting Nigeria in December and said there would be more U.S. military actions there. Reuters earlier reported that the U.S. had been conducting surveillance flights over the country from Ghana since at least late November. The top general says the U.S. team was sent after both countries agreed that more needed to be done to combat the terrorist threat in West Africa. And the story continues on The Nations for this morning. And as you know that for a few minutes, we want you to be part of the newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. And I would read out the headlines that I read out their stories for this morning. I started with the Daily Post, but here I will start with The Punch in giving you the headlines that I read out their stories. So, from the Punch newspaper, I read the story that electricity subsidy, the federal government to deduct 3.6 trillion naira from the Federation account. I also moved further to read that bandits kill 30 in Fresh Katsina and Kwara attack. And also, I read the story on genocide accusation that the U.S. panel holds new sections on Nigeria today. That is from the Punch newspaper. And to be part of the conversations, you can call the number, dial this number 07048 001015 and 08022102163. 07048 001015 and 08022102163. And on The Nation, I read the story that World Bank, the Nigerian, is now a global reference for credible reform leadership. I read the PDP crisis that Makinde and Wike renew their hostilities. And I also read that DSS arraigned Malami, son on charges of terrorism, illegal possessions of firearms. And I read the story that the U.S. confirmed troops on ground in Nigeria amid the ISIS counter-terror push. And on Daily Post, I started with genocide. U.S. Congress panel hold hearing on religious freedom to raise concerns over Nigeria. And I also read that Ibadan NRC accuses Oyo government of destroying federal rail assets. Those are the stories I picked from the three dailies that I brought to you for this morning. So the number to call is 07048001015 and 08022102163. And I will take it from Daily Post to wrap up the newspaper review for this morning that says the infinity signs on Tinubu's cap, not occultic. ABC National Chairman Yuwatada said that, and he said Yuwatada said such claims are handwork of critics trying to create a loophole in Nigeria and give the wrong impression against Tinubu. He said that the All Progressive Congress APC National Chairman Nentawe Yawatada has dismissed the claim that President Bola Tinubu Infinity's signature is a sign of cult group. And he said that such claims are the handwork of critics trying to create a loophole in Nigeria and give the wrong impression against Tinubu. He spoke while featuring a popular TV stations on politics today, and he asked that some critics are saying that infinity signs on Tinubu cap is an occultist signal to capture people, and he responded on that on a popular radio television station in Nigeria. And on that, we'll be calling it a wrap on the newspaper review on JDN Radio 101.5 FM. And as you know, the newspaper review will continue tomorrow, same time, 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. So if you cannot pull a call through right now, you can pull it through when the Yoruba translation segment of the newspaper on Afoniruin will be coming up shortly in the next 2 minutes. Till then, I remain Abiola Sampson. Keep it logged on to JDN Radio 101.5 FM, the only radio station that is broadcasting for all. I remain Abiola Sampson. Bye.